Now for a movie rant break, One Up presents a movie rant break. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Movie Rant Break. It's your host, One Up, What Up in the building. Got a new guest today. I got Zack Rouda, the owner of Rewild Maine. Say what's up.
What's up?
Hey, Nice job. So do you, I'm gonna alley-oop it to you so you can let the people know what Rewild Maine is, because it's a dope organization that you started, and I'll let you tell motherfuckers what that it's all about.
Sure. Yeah. So Rewild Maine is an educational nonprofit program series based in Portland, Maine, but we work all throughout the region, mostly southern Maine. And what we do is facilitate a series of classes and workshops that are focused on small-scale, place-based living skills. So the stuff that we teach is essentially focused on nature connection, amateur botany, biology, teaching about wild edibles, foraging for medicinal plants, making what you need to survive, a lot of organic arts and crafts like weaving baskets and nature survival and nature connection.
Would it be considered like a survivalist type of program, or is that too extreme to label it
Sure.
survivalist?
Yeah, I mean, my vision was really, I wanted to make, I was attracted to wilderness survival, and I was attracted to sustainability, but I was also excited about the idea of making stuff that would work for everybody. You know, the problem with wilderness survival, we're going to talk about this movie here, and there's some of the problems that come up in this movie, I think, are like, you can't get too far away from society. So I was coming from a place, well, what I was going to say is a lot of the skills that we teach, all this nature connection stuff, we use this term small-scale, place-based living skills. Kind of a mouthful.
Yes, it seems like a lot.
It's kind of a bitch to say, to be honest.
I don't think
frank.
I don't think I want to say that.
You don't want to say it again.
I don't think I ever will. But
You're never going to say it.
Yeah, you can say it for me. There you go.
Yeah,
you're going to keep saying it.
Well, what they used to say is they used to say primitive skills.
I like that, but is it because it has a negative connotation?
Because it has a negative connotation, because you're saying that it's primitive because, you know, the positive connotation is it's primitive, it's primary. These are the skills that humanity used for hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years before industrial civilization, before we had any sort of machinery. We had stone tools, we had leather clothing, we had cooking by fire, we had loving each other, we had community, we had language. All of that predates industrialism by millions of years. So you could say primitive skills is using leather clothing and stone tools and cooking by fire and loving each other, working together as a community. All that's primitive skills is good. But then they say, oh, it's primitive skills, it's bad. You're saying that indigenous peoples all around the world who practice the old way of living, oh, they're just primitive. You know, they're not advanced, right?
Well, it's like, I know sometimes, I think just to correlate with the concept that you're saying is like, sometimes people equate ignorant as negative.
Right.
But it's not necessarily negative.
I love calling people ignorant.
Yeah,
it's a compliment. Hey, wait a minute, let me help you.
Yeah, because it's like you're not at fault. You're not at fault. Like you're just being ignorant, which
right.
It doesn't have to be like, oh, you're insulting that person. It's more or less just like you're oblivious to like the perspective of something that is inhibiting you from acting how. I guess I'm being biased and thinking my perspective is understanding what you're not, but like. That's at its core what's happening.
Well,
like,
some people, if you try to correct them, they thank you.
I appreciate it.
And some people, if you try to correct them, then they get offended. You know, if somebody tries to correct me on something, I really, and there have been times in the past when I haven't always expressed curiosity. I can totally relate to getting defensive when somebody criticizes or tries to correct. But I really would love to, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, let me correct you, I would love to be able to be corrected. So anyway, the primitive skills thing, or some people call it earth skills or ancestral skills.
I like all those.
Or you could just say nature skills or nature. Sometimes I just say nature shit.
I fuck with all
it's
of the
nature
above.
Shit.
All
but the
above.
specifics is that it's small scale, meaning we're using hand tools. It's place-based, meaning it's bioregionalism, so it's connected to the place that we are at. The skills that we're going to do in a northern climate like here in Maine is different from what we do if we lived in Arizona, place-based. And then it's living skills, so it's wilderness survival, like you said, but I was really excited about, it's a lot of the stuff we teach is not wilderness survival. I have a class about making sauerkraut, teach people how to mend their clothing and fix the holes in their socks, teach people how to sharpen tools and stuff like that. None of that's really about wilderness survival, but it is about living skills. It's like the skills that we need to live that, used to be, oh, my knife is dull.
Nature shit.
It's just nature shit, bro.
Nature shit, which I fuck with. And like, that was a lot in there, but like even on a more nature shit, we went on my first mushroom forage out in the woods, hunting mushrooms, learned a lot. It was really cool. I actually got some books now.
Nice. You get some identification books.
Yeah. The one that you told me to get is not the one that I ended up getting because it actually was a gift. And I was like, is it the one? I could tell immediately it wasn't, but it's a good one. I'll show it to you before you leave. I meant to show it to you. But yeah, no, I went mushroom foraging, which is kind of like on brand, big mushroom psilocybin advocate, and it was just cool and interesting to see how many mushrooms are among you just within eye distance, and how much are edible, and that takeaway just that one day that we went mushroom foraging was really enlightening to some degree as to like maybe some in some way or some fashion you would do these things to survive. Like if you lived in the motherfucking woods on some nature shit, you'd see those mushrooms and you cook with them, or they could be whatever. Like mushrooms have a lot of different uses.
Right, and as you know, I was gathering them to cook with them even though I'm not surviving in the woods. I was bringing them home to my apartment.
It was super nature shit, and I wanted to do more of that shit, and that's why I was like kind of drawn to your brand and your business. And yeah, it's just cool. There's so many. It's almost limitless categories and things to include in that spectrum of shit.
There's a lot to learn about, and I think for me, I was coming from a place. Well, you want to talk about? You want to give them the intro for the movie?
Yeah. So I just want people because
I want to tie it in. I feel like I could tie it into this movie so many ways.
Yeah, no, and I want you to. I just wanted to give people an understanding like where you were coming from and why we chose this movie, because I like to have like appropriate themed guests for whatever film, and this was a choice that you had mentioned. And I take very seriously recommendations. It could be a one and done if it's a bad recommendation. And your recommendation for this episode for us to review based on what you're all about and stuff was Captain Fantastic.
Captain Fantastic.
Which is super dope. I wasn't privy to this film. It came out back in January, or Sundance was January 23rd, 2016. And then dropped in the U.S. July 8th, 2016. So it's about 8 years old almost now. But yeah, like I said, 2016.
Right before the world went to shit.
Hey, and it's ironic for sure. This film was directed by Matt Ross, written by Matt Ross, produced by Nimit Mankad, Monica Levinson, Jamie Patrikoff, Shivani Rawat, Lynette Howell-Taylor. The film was starring Viggo Mortensen. If you don't know who that is, I'm gonna say Viggo the whole episode. I don't know if you will be. He's Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, he's the man. Like apparently in everything. I haven't seen a lot of his other shit. This was kind of one of the first exposures, to be honest. He's the lead. Frank Langella, Catherine Hahn, Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn is the man.
It was a pleasant surprise for sure.
Yeah.
Let me see. There were all the kid actresses. Samantha Isler or Eisler. George.
I never heard of any of them.
Yeah, they all did phenomenal.
But they were good.
Oh, they were great.
Yeah.
George McKay, Annalise Basso, Shree Crooks. I'm trying to see. Charlie Shotwell. Just want to make sure I get. I think that's all the kid ones. Trin Miller. No, that's the wife. Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed one. So cinematography, Stefan Fontaine, edited by Joseph Krings. Music, Alex Summers, which I thought the music score was really dope and appropriate. The runtime was 118 minutes. Budget was $5 million, and the box office did $22.8 million. Brief breakdown. Viggo Mortensen's character, Ben Cash, him and his wife, Leslie, and their 6 children live deep in the wilderness of Washington State, trying to isolate themselves from society. they devote their whole existence to just raising the kids to live in the wild, educating them to think critically, training them to be physically fit, athletic. And then the wife Leslie dies, and Ben, the main character Vigo, has to bring his family kind of into the real world for the first time, and it's that whole experience and what transpires after that. But very fucking awesome movie. Just first off, wow.
Word, I'm glad you liked it.
Wow, great recommendation, dude. Thank you. I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I love that movie. Dude, it's gonna be out of the collection.
Yeah, it's a good one. Do you do spoilers on the show? Can we talk about the plot or no?
Yeah, run it.
We can talk about it.
This is the review is based off us talking about specifics.
Right. So we're assuming that we both have seen this movie.
Yeah, and I used to drop spoiler alerts, but I'm just it's kind of implied. We're talking about the movie.
Right. Right. So what was I going to say? Well, just basically about this movie, I saw it first when it came out in 2016, and then I saw it again just the other day. And I definitely had some thoughts about the movie that I didn't have when I saw it the first time.
Okay.
And I think maybe I had the same type of thoughts the first time around, but I had them stronger when I saw it the other day. And I think that it ties into what I've been trying to do with Rewild Maine. So essentially, this movie is about these people who have rejected society, and Vigo, the father, throughout the whole movie is very critical of society. They're driving around through suburbia. He's like, look at this, kind of mocking it and shitting on it. It's all the food is poison. They go to eat in the diner. Mm-hmm. He's like, there's no fucking food on the menu. We're not eating here, right? But then he gets them the sugar. He does get them the cake for Noam Chomsky Day. So there is a sugar thing where he knows, and he fucking cocks back the whipped cream. So he knows that this stuff is tempting. Modern society, right? I'm coming from a really weird place. I'm coming from a place of almost insanity. And so that's what I thought this movie depicted, my type of insanity in a really nice way, because these people are the same type of insane. And there are a lot of people who are not having a good time in modern society. I mean, there are plenty of people who are having a great time in society, right?
Sure.
And there are a lot of arguments to be made for be grateful and enjoy your life. There's never been a more exciting time to be alive. The world is full of opportunity. Yes, people have struggles, some more than others, but we also have access to tools to improve our lives, such as even the fucking internet, and so we should be grateful and we should be happy and we shouldn't focus on the negativity. And yet, there are a lot of negative things to focus on. There are a lot of problems. There's pollution and there's war and there's exploitation and there's, Noam Chomsky, who they honor in this movie. You know who he is? He's been very critical of America and
I figured it was something with that ideology backing it, based on how all the characters.
Yeah, I mean, he's a linguist, but he's been very critical of America. Rightfully so in many cases, because there's a lot to criticize. And so, yes, we should be grateful. Here we are in the modern world, but there are a lot of problems. And so if you focus on the problems and you go down a particular path with it, you may find yourself thinking, I've got to leave society. I've got to go live in the woods. And for me, before I started Rewild Maine, I was very much in this place. Society is garbage. Everybody is a moron. We're killing ourselves. A lot of judgment, in hindsight, a lot of negativity. And there's this quote, there's a common quote that's tossed around. If you're not, I forget who said it. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention.
I've heard that before.
If you're not angry all the time, if you're not if you're not miserable to be around, if it's okay being around you, if it's tolerable being around you, if you're not miserable to be around all the time because you're so fucking angry and you're so critical of society all the time, then you're not paying attention and you're a piece of shit.
Who says this?
This is a quote. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. It's a quote among radicals.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Bro, you're not paying attention to pollution? You're not angry about what's going on? You're not angry about what's going on in the world? There's all these genocides and all this war. If you're not angry about that shit, look at you with your fucking... You're sitting here. You're not angry?
Oh, you're attacking me? Well, I have a rebuttal to that. It's just like, I know that all things can be solved by, and it's going to sound a little... It all starts with each one of us.
Right.
And if everybody just did relatively reasonable things, and obviously that's a vague statement, but like just be a nice person, and obviously that's a spectrum in itself. But like I guess you gotta start with yourself. And if everybody just worked on themselves, like all these things, it wouldn't be so much to be angry about, I think. So I think
that is beautiful. And that's I think where I am now. But you know the song All You Need Is Love? The Beatles. You never heard that shit?
I'm not.
You don't know about the Beatles?
What was that?
The Beatles.
I'm familiar, but like I don't know their catalog.
Anyway, they have this song, All You Need Is Love. Yeah, and
not wrong.
Love is all you need. I used to think that that was wrong, though. I used to hate on that. I used to shit on that.
Well, we talked about it earlier. Like hating has never got anybody anywhere except backwards, probably.
Maybe so, but so I spent so long just hating society in the way that Vigo did. And by the way, spoiler alert, it doesn't work out very well for everybody in Vigo's family, does it?
Because
his wife...
Yeah, I mean, like, motherfuckers die. Like, that happens. Like,
did she die?
She died.
She was very... Who are you, Steve Zahn? You're doing the Steve Zahn.
Am I?
Yeah, because in the scene...
She died.
She killed herself.
That's still death.
That is a form of
If you
death.
asked me to explain further, I would have been more than happy to divulge those details.
I think that it's you know, I had a friend who killed herself.
Oh, that's too bad. Sorry to hear that.
I'm smiling because it's uncomfortable, but it was a major bummer.
Naturally.
There's no reason to mention her name, but this is a friend of mine who took her own life for this. Now, in the movie, they said she had depression, and she was depressed for a very long time.
Yeah, she had like allegedly some mental debilitations.
It probably, in my mind, could have been caused by a negative outlook on the world, because my friend who committed suicide killed herself in part because she felt guilty being a part of modern society.
Interesting. I hate to say interesting.
Interesting.
If you've seen the fucking movie,
I know.
Interesting
You gotta be specific.
It's not a good enough word, essentially. And Vigo's character, he is such the man. More than Aragorn, by the way.
Right.
Like, I didn't think I could fuck with the dude anymore.
Well, it's dad. He's got major dad energy. He's got the dad energy.
Like surpassed. It's just like leader energy.
Right.
Where I'm like, this dude, like, yes.
Trusting him.
Yeah, like, this dude's got it under control. He's so mild-mannered. But yeah, no. So the psyche of your friend.
Well, just that this woman. I'm still trying to intro what Rewild Maine is. And
I thought we moved past that.
We moved past it, but I'm still just talking about how, like, my journey towards this is coming from a place of extremism and from a place of negativity.
Reasonable.
And this extremism is a response to some legitimate problems in the world, like pollution and war. But the negativity, if you go down this path, you are going to end up where my friend ended up, where the wife in the movie who kills herself in the first 10 minutes of the movie, she kills herself. This is the end result of this extremism take. And so there was a time when I was basically hating on society, reading a lot of Noam Chomsky, who's honored in this movie, reading Howard Zinn, who's like another leftist, and worried about climate change, worried about the complacency of everyday Americans. I would see a Hummer drive by and say, fuck you.
Well, see, like, I'd make the counterpoint to what's the dude's name that they celebrate? Noam Chomsky. Like, I would unfortunately say that it sounds like he might be a negative...
Little negative Nancy?
Like, yeah, I was gonna say negative Nancy, just like a negative motherfucker. Where like people are like your ideas and ideologies are driving people to kill themselves. Like you might not be wrong, whatever.
Well, it's not his. It wasn't his ideology that drove people to kill himself. And he has a beautiful quote even in the movie where it's like you have to believe. You know, if you don't believe it's possible, it's not going to be possible. You have to believe it's possible. Noam Chomsky, a lot of this stuff could be taken to a negative place. I can't say that Noam Chomsky is a negative Nancy, although he is. It's funny to consider him that way. But basically, like, I was hating society from a theoretical point of view, just thinking society is garbage, not really doing much about it. Then eventually, this is 10 years ago, 11 years ago, but when I was 25, I moved to Maine for an apprenticeship to learn how to live off the land. I came to Maine.
From where? Was it Maryland?
These amazing people. It's called the Maine Local Living School.
Where'd you come from?
From D.C.
You lived in D.C. So like a city boy moved like to the country.
That's where I'm from. Right. So I grew up in D.C. That's true. Right. So I grew up in D.C. and always saw, by the way, the problems with cities. And saw like
shitty.
I mean, there's look. I love DC. I love cities. I love New York City. I lived in New York City for a long time. I love Portland, which is kind of a city in a sense, technically. But yeah, there are problems with cities, and so I would. Growing up in DC was like taking the bus home, waiting at the bus for the bus to come, and there's a man with his penis out, and he's wanking.
He's wanking over in
just
Europe.
Wanking.
Having a wank. I didn't know we just like went over to Europe real quick and you were like, wanking. It's bloody wanking.
He was having a wank right there.
He's having a wank.
Yeah, he was
right
having
there.
a tug off. Yeah. And so you could say like, what the fuck's wrong with you, you disgusting piece of shit?
But he's in the wild. Like, let him. He's just in the wild.
Right.
But you're classifying like you can't whack off here like, yo, it's the jungle. Like,
I would assume that you would do something, but then the cops would drive by and be like, oh, that guy's just doing his thing.
Yeah, because he's in the wild. He's wild wanking.
At 14 years old or 13 or whenever, just learning the lesson that some people fall through the cracks, and the best that they have is at a little fucking afternoon bus stop wank.
Let him fucking wank. It's the wild.
But it's still depressing to see.
Well, then you left, so
you're good. No judgment. I didn't call the cops. I didn't fucking.
Sounds like you've been judging him for years.
No, it's not like I like still remembering
like,
this guy.
Motherfucker
like
wanking. He didn't I'll never forget.
It's not like he like affected the course of my life.
It sounds like it did because you moved away because you're like, this motherfucker's wanking. So I'm moving up north.
A formative experience, actually. Yeah.
I'm glad you made it through. But you should let it go though. Let it go. Let it go. He was just
I've been in therapy for years. No, it's okay. But
like you're done now.
That was just one of many, bro. Just seeing
wanking
people,
or just like shit.
Well, just seeing like madmen on the street, like
any mad women or just like crazy
mad women. You ever listen? I mean, I don't want to go on too many tangents, but you ever listen to Wax? You know Wax, the rapper.
Yeah, he's got some good joints.
Yeah, he just had a baby.
I don't.
Shout out to Wax. He has a song. What the fuck is it? What the fuck is it called? Now I can't remember the name of the song. But he has an incredible song about people who go insane in pursuit of their dreams. And he has this verse. I feel bad that I can't remember the name of this song, but it's just because I'm trying to make this other point.
He forgives you.
But it's basically there are mad men and mad women all over the city, and there are many other problems with the city. But one of the ones that was most emotionally moving to me was just seeing these people like losing their mind, taking a shit on the sidewalk.
Not wiping.
Throwing it, who knows? Eating it, who knows?
You think they're eating their own shit?
Yelling on the street. Like, I mean, you've been to New York? You've been to like
I've been to some cities. Like it's not a place I would want to like have like dwell in per se. It stresses me out being in the city, like because all that stuff. Like you can deal with it, but I just rather be in a more rural, private, peaceful place. It's just easier, and like I can do everything that I want to do where I'm at. I can, with the technology in the era that we live in, I try to be positive and optimistic, and it's like, oh, it's so cool. I can just hop on a jet or get in a whip and drive all across the country and accomplish whatever type of business endeavor or vacation or whatever. You know?
I have always been 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and pulled in different directions, and I think that it's interesting too. I mean, there's so many different things that were motivating my trajectory.
Wanking, probably.
Seeing these guys wanking and seeing just uncomfortable shit in cities, seeing people on the street corner just screaming, just like in pain. Just screaming. Just crazy people, right? And so it's not to judge them. I wasn't judging them. My heart was going out to them. It was like breaking my heart to see these people. And so one of the lessons that I was learning early on is just like, this society is not working for everybody. And my friend who ended up killing herself, excuse me, like the reason that she was killing herself, the reason she ended up killing herself was because she felt guilty being a part of society.
Because of the negative things happening in society?
Because she felt like, if I live in society, whether I live in a city or the country, whether I ride my bike to the grocery store or drive my Hummer to the grocery store, I'm still going to spend dollars. I'm still going to participate. I'm sucking the teat of society. And she felt so guilty. This is real shit, that she killed herself.
That's unfortunate.
And so basically, like, the thing that I'm trying to do with Rewild Maine is related to, I think, what's happening in Captain Fantastic, where in Captain Fantastic, in the beginning, their oldest kid is 18 years old. He's going off to college. So 18 years ago, they moved to the woods. They moved when Bo was 10. So when he was 10,
like 8 years ago, I think
8 years ago, they moved to the middle of fucking nowhere and they start living off the land and like rewilding.
Turn up.
Right? Growing their own food, hunting the deer with the fucking knife or whatever.
Yeah, which...
Is that possible?
That's what I was going to ask you, because I was like, the only question... I had two questions about the movie.
From the jump, they lost you.
Yeah. No.
All right, I'm turning... This is fake.
Yeah, no, like that. Like that was literally... I was so glad you're saying that. Like, because it was like, I have to ask Zach if, like... I'm sure, I don't know.
So, right, in the beginning of the movie, they kill the deer with a knife. The kid, alone.
Just drops on a deer.
The 18-year-old boy.
They were savages, though. So, like, if you weren't sure and, like, knew something, I was like, maybe Zach knows a motherfucker that's done that.
I would love to be anybody personally. I'll tell you, growing up in D.C., there were deer everywhere, and I almost fucking jumped on a deer like that.
So maybe you can. Like, those motherfuckers are hardcore. So that was one question. The other question was what Ben, a.k.a. Vigo's, occupation was before.
I don't know if that's ever addressed in the movie.
There was a military tie, like he was using some phrases like mission. He kept saying mission, which made me think military.
Maybe he was in the military.
That's what I wondered, but he seemed sophisticated and well educated. And
they didn't talk about it, but they did make it clear that her family had mad money.
Yeah, he was the
father. So clearly, and at one point he sold his little birdhouses. You saw. Do you saw he was selling his birdhouses when they went to the post office in the very beginning?
Yeah.
And the post office guy comes out. He's like, "All right, Ben, let's see what you got." He like gives him money, and he like pulls out this little janky little birdhouse that he made out of some tin cans.
Yo.
Yeah, so
it's
he's
crazy.
like making birdhouses.
I remember hearing that line, but I feel like I like looked at my phone and I was like,
because there's hot girls too in that scene.
Yes,
because that's when Bo is interacting with the hot girls.
Yeah, and then it was cool. Like Vigo's such a G. He's like, you go talk to him,
right?
Like you were like waiting for him to be like, don't worry about him, dumb bitches. But he was like, no, go talk to them. Like, go get your
right. They're enslaved, the zombie women. Right.
It was dope. Vigo's like a dope guy. He's like, no, like you need to sleep with women.
Get it?
Like, get it.
You have need.
Trust me, it's a good idea.
Right.
Like, nah, he didn't hold his kids back like on that crazy level. But yeah. The deer thing was definitely a question, like the lurking and jumping on a deer from the bushes or the
right. So there is this thing called persistence hunting. You know about that?
Say again?
Persistence hunting is a thing that many indigenous tribes were said to have done. Some of them were known to have done and still practiced. And what it is essentially, that the human being is the world's best distance runner. Did you know that? Did you know that no animal can outrun a human?
As long as they don't surpass a certain speed.
Not over time.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So in a sprint, the cheetah is going to catch you.
Yeah.
Right? And it would be crazy to hunt a cheetah because it would just probably attack you maybe. It would get defensive and just fucking fight you. But like a gazelle, for example, or an antelope or a deer, there are many historical accounts that you can Google if you look up persistence hunting. And there's even some videos of people like trying to do it, or, I'm not really sure like how real it was.
What is it?
Okay, so what it is basically the idea that over a long period of time, a human can outrun any animal. If you run after a goat or an antelope or a deer, you're a deer, I'm a human, I run after you, the deer runs away. But it just runs over there. It runs over the next hill. It runs. If you're in the forests, if you're in Maine, it's hard to catch. But if you're in like the open plains of the Sahara Desert of
eventually
Africa,
you'll get it based on persistence, and like humans are the best at that.
The idea is that they run and run and run, and every time you press the animal, it gets up. It's like, fuck, this guy's coming again. It runs another 100 yards. It runs over the next hillside. It runs to take a break. You come up again. You press it again. It runs away. You can't catch it, but you are fucking dogged.
I never thought of that.
Marathon.
Yeah.
A human can outrun a horse over a long period of time.
That's so fascinating.
Right?
Like, not based off speed, but just like distance. Like, we can go.
Well, a horse I'm actually not sure about. Maybe I'll take back the horse. But because I know horses sweat. But one of the things is about sweat, right? Like, animals have to rest to recover.
Like, because they pant. They don't sweat. They don't like excrete.
Right, but
like
because humans are so good at sweating, do you ever read the shit Born to Run? They talk about this. Christopher, it's a book, Born to Run, but he talks about how because we can sweat and because our head is above our heart. So like there's all this energy in your heart when you're running. There's like heat, but the same way like your balls are free to get cool. Your head is also free. Your head is like up here where there's a breeze. Your brain is free from all like the engine in your heart and your cardiovascular system. So humans can recover while moving. Like we can sprint, and then just slow to a jog. The deer has to rest, but we're jogging. So it's like tortoise and the hare. We're still cat. So there is this idea of persistence hunting where maybe they were pressing that deer in the beginning of the movie. They're pressing him. He's fucking tired. And then Bo pops out with the knife and catches him.
I fuck with that.
It's possible. I think
that was I accept. Yeah, like outside of those two questions, that and what his background was, I don't have any critiques on this movie. It's a fucking gem. Like, great recommendation. Anybody wants to see an amazing movie, this is an amazing movie, and I'm gonna unpack some more shit with you as far as like what I think makes it amazing. But I don't really have any gripes with it. The deer thing off rip was questionable, but hearing that is like word.
It's possible, but also people have had bows and arrows for I think 40,000 or 60,000 years, and people have had atlatls for I should know these dates off the top, but
no, it's fine. Like
people have had atlatls for a long time. Spears, spear throwers, stone tools. I mean, the spear points are 3 million years old.
All I'm saying is like this family is super badass. If any family could be doing this shit, like it's believable. I think they would be able to handle.
But what about the fact that his wife killed herself?
Sometimes people get caught up in the mind, like you can.
But they went out there to heal the mind.
Yeah, this is why I'm saying like it's tough when you're saying everybody feels plagued by or guilt by society and stuff, and like when I was talking about how everybody worries about themselves first, like will the world be a better place? Because like if everybody worrying about themselves, I believe that maybe there would be a just better overall amount of interactions human that might make the difference, and most people might not get to that point because they're living in this fucking society where people just aren't raised correctly, and there's just a lot of distractions, and it's challenging, and most people aren't equipped to deal with all the blessings or extra awesomeness that we have available to us from just like the way we import food to just technology to entertainment. It's a lot, and like I could totally empathize with the guilt, and I just think at the end of the day when you get like really sad about it, it's like all you can really do is focus on yourself and be the best version of yourself so that everybody around you benefits from that, and then it helps them to be their best self, and naturally like that hopefully compounds out to a level that maybe at some point everything will just naturally be at a higher percentage of a great place to live. And like that's all I can hope for, and that's why I try to do me first.
I love it. Yeah, no, I like it. I think that basically like them, I went extreme for a while, and when I moved to Maine, at this place, the Maine Local Living School, which used to be known as Koviashevik, I essentially lived. The way they live is they have very low technology. I lived without electricity. I lived without running water.
How was that? How long?
I was there for 2 summers, essentially. I was there for 2013 and 2014.
Like
from like
through?
April to the first year I was there like April to November. The second year I was there like April to September.
Cool.
But I wasn't there for the winter time.
Naturally. So what was the most challenging thing living off the grid?
So much. Every part of it.
Unpack it out.
I mean, I cry. Speaking of crying, right? You were asking me about my eye, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if someone hit you. I was like, you get in a tussle.
Well, no, I was telling you because I have an eye infection from too much crying.
Which is really interesting.
Crying. I asked the doctor. I said, because I have this eye infection. I said, could you possibly get it from crying? He said, well, maybe if you're rubbing your eyes. He said, do you cry? I said, well, I cry like every day because I've been crying like every day. So, but I just cry a lot. So the first time when I went there, I cried for like the first week, just like cried myself. It was very lonely.
I can imagine.
It was isolating. So when I lived there, my vision was that I was going to go and kind of find a community, and my vision was I was going to like find some nature, they call him like a buckskin babe.
Oh.
Did
you shave armpits?
Yeah, no shaving. Oh. That's what I was wanting.
You were wanting that.
I was hoping to find like a magical wife from the universe. But when I went there to be their apprentice, I was all alone. And it ended up, it was just this husband and wife, and they have 2 small kids, and then it was me. So we would like eat dinner around the dinner table, and they're like these tiny little hobbit people who live in like a little hobbit hole, little tiny little cabin, and they have a tiny little dinner table, and we would sit around, and I would be like in the table with them, with their little kid. Yeah, it was like part of the family. I was like their farm hand, the apprentice. And so it was very isolating. It was hard for me. Like deprivation from technology was it was a shock because I was coming from growing up in DC, and then I did have some New England experience because I went to UVM in Burlington. So I lived in Burlington, Vermont. Just in case, right? But then I lived in New York City and back in DC, and then I was coming to like shit in a bucket, and you had to get water from the spring. You had to like walk to the spring with the fucking bottles and fill them up with the dipper.
Yeah, like what was the hardest? Like the most difficult
Not
thing
smoking weed was hard. I had to like hide my. They didn't want me to smoke weed.
Oh, they were against it. That's right.
The isolation was very hard, and that's why I didn't stay there for the winter. That was probably the hardest thing. They recommended that I not live there for the winter if I was single, because
it's like we just fuck. Like you're gonna want to not be up in here,
right? They're like you're gonna be really jealous. You're just gonna see us having sex in the snow.
We're not into cucks, so like you're gonna have to go.
Yeah, like, no, it was just really like. It was really off-grid living. It was rural living. Their work rhythm slows down in the winter, and their recommendation at the time was that I not stay there if I was single, which was a strong recommendation. So I came to Portland and lived in Portland for the winter, and then went back in I guess it was 2013 and 2014. But anyway, I basically was like, grew up in D.C., the guy's wanking on the bus. Oh, disgusting, heartbreaking. The cities are not working for everybody. Maybe I'll kill myself like my friend, my dumb friend. She's not dumb, bless her heart. But I think that it's such a fucking waste. She's not dumb. I take that back. I take it back. But I think that it is really a horrible waste for people to take their own lives, especially in a time when we need all hands on deck.
I agree.
We need everybody to be doing what you're saying, to be living their best selves, to be shining the light for everybody around them, and that's what's going to make the world a better place. And so if you think the world is a bad place, that's why we need people like you to be shining your light. If you can see, if you say the world is a bad place, you could just as easily say, the world is in need of my light.
Yeah.
I'm going to shine.
I agree.
But it basically, in the way that Ben and they lived in the woods and everybody, I feel like you can get lost in the extreme. Yeah, and in the same way that I got lost in the woods shitting in a bucket, what I'm trying to do with Rewild Maine was kind of what I saw them doing at the end of the movie when he's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They still have a garden.
Shout out to everybody part of that film. God damn it, fantastic movie. The title does not disappoint. But yeah, if we're talking about the dynamic of what the fuck going on. Like for me, that I was observing, I had a less connection to this idea, but I empathized and really appreciated it all the way, like top to bottom with the motherfucking film. Like the connectedness of the family, from hunting to exercise to the education shit, to the late night jam sessions. I'm a musician.
So would you want to live like that?
I didn't say that, but I liked and appreciated the groundedness that was displayed in the film with everything that they were doing. Like it seemed a very fulfilling, logical way to live. Radical, you could say, but if someone's gonna be anti this world sucks, like, yeah, you could take yourself out the game in more than one way, as you saw in this film, whether it's taking your life or just taking yourself out of the rat race. But you can see how there is pros and cons to that notion, and you saw it in the kids trying to feel that they wanted to be a part of the society, because they felt the fact that their father, lack of a better term, left or abandoned the wife when she was in need because he was obsessed with this ideology.
Right. I mean, the one kid says, "You killed mom."
Yeah, and it's like, the dynamic in that film was really captivating in that sense, because, obviously I'm not like Vigo's character in the family, but there was so much fulfillment I was seeing in that lifestyle that was being portrayed. And it was interesting to see how they not gave in, but saw the value in logic when they actually put up or shut up. People want to say, oh, I'm so mad at the world. It's so there's a lot of things to be angry about, but like, what you gonna do about it? Are you gonna bitch about it, or are you gonna do something about it? And they say in the movie, it's about your actions, not what you're talking about, or some shit.
Right.
And it's like, it was cool to see like this character. They're like, no, fuck the world. Like, we gonna do shit on our own, and like did it. Because a lot of people just want to bitch about it, and it's just more like, put up or shut up. And I couldn't understand why he wouldn't see the logic into wanting to be with his wife and maybe making an exception or making a pivot in the time of your most loved one needing you, and being overly obsessed with yourself, with your ego and your ideologies, to inhibit maybe some good you could cause to your closest, like your spouse, or to somebody else. Like, you can't be too obsessed with your ideas, because you saw in this film, when you get obsessed with ideologies, it can be dangerous. And there was irony too in how they were making fun of Christians in regular society, because they started making the same mistakes because they were ignoring logic because of obsession, whether the holiday with the dude, and like there was just all these like tie-ins to like
hypocrisy.
Essentially, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's what I didn't see the first time around, and I think that the first time I saw that movie, when it came out in 2016. I was strongly sympathetic to the Vigo's character, and I was just on their side. I just thought, I want to have this man's life. That's what I thought. But when I saw it again just the other day, I was able to see him with a much more critical eye. A lot of the things he was doing were not good.
They were marginal. It was like, he probably shouldn't be doing that. Like
shoplifting from the grocery store,
which was lit though. I was like, turn up. But yeah, that's a bad.
It's lit until you
it's not.
Get caught shoplifting.
Yeah, there's no accountability.
Which may or may not have happened to me. It never happened to me, but it might have.
I mean, like the thing in that film.
Happened. It never happened to me, but it could
allegedly.
It could have happened to me.
But like, you look at the rock climbing sequence.
But it sucks.
Rock climbing sequence, right?
That's another one.
It was like, they're killing. Like, Vigo's character was a super gangster because
he had it on lock.
He had it on lock, but it was
barely.
Just like and you saw the couple slip ups when he started, he was subjecting his kids to things, you know, the fuck the world mentality goes so far till like somebody's world get fucked. Like his daughter almost went paralyzed. Like that's serious. Like wife died, and you're just like you're pushing too hard on your belief system.
Right? He said in the hospital, if your daughter could have been paralyzed, like yes, crazy. She was strong. She had strong neck muscles or whatever. So
she's a beast.
Yeah, she's a beast. But
she was jumping on deer. Like,
right, but I was just able to see like some of the risks that he was taking, specifically the shoplifting, and like yeah, it was just nice to see him. He was still growing too. We're all still growing too. And I think that some of the most powerful things that he did in the movies, like raising all those kids, you know, some of them are going to have, maybe they're going to have some trauma to get over or who knows, but they're all smart kids and they are strong. Right. And so he basically just that as far, well, this is what I was thinking when you were saying put up or shut up. Is just, and this is about Rewild Maine and why it's wilderness survival, but it's also DIY, it's also self-sufficiency, it's also focused on community and communication and taking responsibility for wherever the hell you are. Because put up or shut up, it could mean do something really extreme. It could mean, all right, you hate society, go live off the land. No. But it could just be really wholesome. It could just be, hey, do something. You have criticisms of society, name those critiques and then try to address each one. So like one of the criticisms of society, I mean, yeah, whatever. If you
big list,
just some of the things that I do are focused on like reusing shit or making your own shit. And it's not really about wilderness survival and it's not really about saving the world. But I do think it's about like building empowerment and like develop in the same way that like in a kind of Captain Fantastic way. Like we're not going all the way off the grid, but I'm teaching my kids about the Bill of Rights. I don't have kids, but in theory, I'm teaching them Bill of Rights. I'm teaching them about gardening. And and I guess I just am trying to find like a middle of the road where, and like some of the other shit that we wanted to talk about, I mean, some of the other shit we wanted to talk about is like, you know, you hit me up a few days ago. We don't have to get into it right now, but like the like
just
all
wait
these,
on it. Or you can talk about it.
Well, no, I'll just allude to it because there's something else I want to talk to. Well, the illusion is just the thing I'm alluding to, illusion with an A, is just like global issues, like, you know, whatever's going on in Israel. People, even though I'm not alluding to, people know what's going on.
I mean, I would argue that they don't, and that's why I want to talk about it.
Well, we can talk about it.
But yeah,
but the other thing is, there's a whole other thread to this, which is basically, and I don't know if you want to, or if I'm talking to, but you had me on my show. I'm supposed to talk, but I don't want to talk too much. I want to have a genuine conversation with you. But one of the things that I don't know if I've ever shared with you, I haven't shared this with you really personally, which is just my journey caring like Viggo Mortensen in this movie, caring deeply about the world, like my friend who took her own life, caring deeply about environmentalism, trying to work towards a better society, coming, I thought, from a place of good, and doing something really benign and small, like a drop in the bucket, which is like teaching people how to make baskets, doing foraging, teaching people about living off the land, these tiny little, let's walk through the woods and learn some mushrooms, right? The shit that I did with you, that's what I do professionally, teach people, learn them,
it's sick.
Learn about mushrooms. That led to me being accused of being a white supremacist, a racist. And what they said was that for me to be a white guy teaching other white people, one person at one point, a couple people said, if you have native people at your workshops, it's okay. Or if the money goes, and Rewild Maine, by the way, we do donate a percentage of what we make as a nonprofit to other nonprofits, including some native-run organizations.
Nature shit ones.
Yeah, we donate to other people, okay? But the logic of it, I think, and like all of the things, for me, really, it's really about the principles. When I'm teaching, it's about principles. If I'm teaching about a basket, or even if I'm learning to like cook, I don't want to cook from a recipe. I want to learn how spices work. I want to learn what cumin does. I want to learn what dill adds to a recipe. So when I'm fucking cooking up, I can, this needs more chili powder. This needs more garlic. This needs acid. Add some lemon, right? When I'm teaching baskets, I don't want to give people like a kit. I don't want to show up with like a kit of materials. I want to teach people all the shit, how to identify the plant in the wild, how to gather it with a pair of clippers so that you can carry this skill forward into the future and you're not tied to me and this kit. What if you get a nice recipe? You're like, fuck, I got to get the recipe.
Which is like anybody that wants to talk shit about what you're doing. And I've noticed your authenticity, just who you are and like what you're embodying with your business and shit. And I think that don't let that kind of those comments deter you.
The critiques are legitimate. I appreciate it. I mean to cut you off.
Like, don't worry about like, dude, you're doing shit as authentic as you can be, and like you're showing people really cool skills, and I know you enough and can vouch for you that I know that you're honoring the craft and the origins of things, and you're really trying to help people. And so everybody, the more love you get in life, you're going to get more hate. It's how it goes, my guy. So don't get it twisted.
I appreciate all of that. And there was a time when I was getting called out there was a time when I was taking it personally, and I was getting under the wheel and feeling very bad about myself and feeling very despondent about the state of the world and how people treat each other and misunderstand each other. But I think that where I'm at now with it is really just thinking about it from a more understanding and compassionate place. And so I'm not getting down on myself. I don't think that what I'm doing is bad. I don't think that Viggo Mortensen in Captain Fantastic was a bad father, even though he took his kids shoplifting. I see the Operation Free the Food. Capitalism is exploitative, right? He's very critical of capitalism. So, like, we're all wage slaves. We should get fucking free food. We used to have free food when we lived off the land 50,000 years ago when we could go and do persistence hunting.
Different system, but
now we live in this system. And so...
which I do want to vouch for capitalism overall. Like, I'm a person that believes in capitalism.
Microphones and sunglasses and headphones and sweatshirts and a nice watch and cigarettes and a water bottle, metal water bottle. Well, I learned how to make water bottles out of fucking gourds and shit.
Which is dope.
Yeah, but they get all moldy. They're hard to wash.
So like capitalism is dope because if someone's going to make an idea that helps you live your life better and they're going to provide that luxury, if you will, because the society we living in, like, it's a luxury to have a water bottle. Like, people need to think about shit like that sometimes. We're like, okay, you're in a wild, say, EMP, normal electricity, because electricity causes a lot of company. It makes you feel like there's something going on. But, like, when you lose power, it gets sad and quiet and cold and dark, especially in the north during the winter. But, like, these commodities and shit are a lot of times, I feel, in my opinion, a derivative of like capitalism. So what is Rewild? What do you think rewilding is? Did I explain it, or do you get a sense of what it is? More than I could have ever asked for. I explained what Rewild Maine is. Nature shit is like how I process it in my head. It's nature shit. Because it's like, but it's more than that, though. I know, but like it's just everything nature. Like if you think about it, they can ask you, and you probably, if you don't offer some sort of education or class, you would try to accommodate and do. If there was a draw for it, you'd be like, oh, themes. So that's the thing. It's the principles. So the principles of what I'm teaching are about nature and community sufficiency and self-sufficiency. Because some of the things, although if all we had, if the technology, if the power went out tomorrow forever, I would call you. I couldn't call you though. So I'd be like, where's Zach? Right. I'd have to bird call you out because like I know I would need you. Well, and that's what I'm saying. I put value on it. Like, granted, we're in a society where at the moment it's not necessarily like a skill, like skills that we need to use on a day to day. But I value the idea of that, and I think it's really healthy to know the origins of things and know where you come from, because then the appreciation grows so much, and you're like, wow, like I said, the water bottle concept. Like, think about if you're in a wild, you got nothing. You got to drink out of a stream, but like you can't. You got to carry water. Baskets. They used to weave baskets to be watertight, or the stomach of a goat. You're like, how would I know that unless I knew you? Like, I've already made a apocalypse team Like, I don't know if I've drafted you yet, but like you're on the team.
Okay, word.
Like,
right, I'm on the.
I got capitalistic shit. You know, I got some shit that you probably don't got, but like I got some other people that bring some attributes that will make the team strong, and like you will definitely be like it will be good.
So that's
you accept the draft.
I'm down.
You're on the team.
It's funny though. It's funny though. But a lot of people like a lot of people in the rewilding or survivalist scene have heard this before.
Heard what?
When the power goes out, I'm calling you.
When
shit hits the fan, I'm coming to your house.
Does that make you feel good though? Like
it does make me feel cool because I'm like the survival guy, and I know that I do have some skills that could be of benefit if the power goes out tomorrow forever. But here's the thing: it's like the vision for me used to be about being the survival guy, and the vision for me used to be about basically preparing for the power to go out. And almost at some points, I was thinking like it would be better if the power went out. Like society is so fucked up. I'm
gonna get one up on motherfuckers.
Well,
I'm ready.
There's a thing, and you were talking about like content. You don't want to get your shit pulled, and like I'll just mention a word which has become basically like a hate group. But have you ever heard of this thing called accelerationism?
No.
So there's no way that I could say I'm an accelerationist, especially because now it's known as like a white supremacist, hateful thing.
Okay.
So I'm not a fucking accelerationist. But accelerationism, let me tell you what they're trying to accelerate. Okay. Accelerationism, they're trying to accelerate the collapse of society.
Oh.
So if you're an accelerationist, basically you're saying like, yeah, society sucks and it would be better if society collapsed. And so we should accelerate the collapse of society by doing like horrible things, sometimes like acts of terrorism or like infrastructure damage or like...
Capitalist growth is like one of the things they would like advocate for.
Is that what it says?
It says, but it's like the
no, that's like economic. There might be like a more legitimate form of. There might be like a non-crazy person version of this.
Yeah, it's the wiki version. I'm like, increase capitalism.
Go
like,
to the crazy.
Relax.
Go to like the psycho counterculturepeople.com crazy people.
Yeah, like because that's
accelerationism crazy people version.
I have such a problem with like people that attach themselves to like isms and ists because it's very. It's a hypocrisy. What's a hypocritical? Hypocritical, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Hypocritical because they'll like try to shame capitalism, but like they have an iPhone. Like, what are you talking? Like, well, like
sure, right? And then all the accelerationists are like posting online, like I'm an accelerationist, and so I used to call myself. There's another thing like anarcho-primitivism. It's like we're anarchy, but we're also primitivists, so we're anarcho-primitivists, and all these principles are basically about like. This is what I'm saying. This is what it used to be. For me, it used to be like some accelerationist, borderline accelerationist, like borderline ascetic, like hiding in the woods, you know, off grid, dropping out. But that's not what it's about for me anymore. I think that now, like, and this is what I was going to ask you like a minute ago, because when you were saying, what we have to do, basically, I'm going to summarize, but what you're saying is like what we have to do is shine our light. You know,
got this little light of mine.
We gotta let it shine.
I'm gonna let it. I'm gonna let this little light of mine shine. I don't know.
I can't sing.
I bet is that a church song? I thought it's a church song.
This little light of mine. It's a Arlo Guthrie. I don't know.
Shit, I don't know what the fuck you're saying, but I appreciate it.
But this is the thing, like, when you were saying. What we have to do is shine our light. We can't take ourselves off the map. We're not going to take our own lives. We're not going to pull a Captain Fantastic in the first half of the movie necessarily, because if we go live off the land in the middle of nowhere, maybe our wife's going to kill herself because she's lonely.
I mean, who knows? I mean,
who the fuck knows?
In this case, it wasn't. Like, it's counterintuitive sometimes and like hypocritical. You know, like when you're obsessed with belief systems, and you see that in this shit. I don't know.
But let me ask you this question.
All right, hit me with it.
Do you think in order to make society work, we have to, like, people have to become better?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Because, like, a lot of times people say that. People say, like, because you were saying, like, if everybody did what they could, if everybody did what they could to influence the people around them to be positive, the world would be better.
Yeah, the big premise, I mean, there's a lot of elements that contribute to why or why not, or why this doesn't happen. But it's people just, I don't think in general are seeking growth and trying to be better. They're like, they could be content or look back in the day and say, oh, that was my high point. And they're just like, the self-improvement aspect in the world is definitely, I think, a big contributing factors to why the world's not a better place, because people are just lazy and sometimes it's just like bad things happen to people. They get beat down and it's, they're just along for the ride and, unfortunate things happen. But yeah, people just got to try to be better, including myself, including you. Like every day you got to try to wake up and if you get that day, make it count and try to be a better version of yourself than you were the day before. Like, and that's all you can fucking do. Like point blank.
I can't argue with it. But what I used to spend a lot of time thinking, like, so many people say, in order to make the world work, people got to be better.
I mean,
this is what's fucking up the world, like greed.
I mean, there's a lot of things. It's just like, I get really tired of hearing people say it's like one thing or like two things. It's like a lot of things. So at the end of the day, it just like to be overly vague and repetitive. It's like, just fucking be a nice person and fucking keep it moving. People just get caught on shit and they just want to bitch about it. And like, they're not talking the walk or walking the walk. And that's why Viggo's character in this movie was so endearing and awesome, because he was walking the walk.
Right.
And like, because most people don't. And it's like, it was refreshing, but then you saw this situation unfold and it was the most emotional. It's arguably the most emotional movie I've ever watched. I cried twice. Not like not long cries.
Let it out.
Well, like I cried twice because the first scene early on in the film, when the father Viggo, he finds out that the wife had committed suicide, and you kind of find out, you knew that she was going to do that. Like he had a feeling that was going to happen, which was kind of interesting.
Right, when he goes in and tells the kids.
Yeah, she finally killed herself.
Right, and then like all the kids are crying.
Yeah, like that scene, I cried because I've had moments that were really heavy in my life. One was when my mom told me she had cancer, and it really like brought me back there. Like that moment that someone, in this case my mother, it was like the room, it's dead air, it's quiet, and they conveyed it so well in this. And when he tells the kids, they all just like, there's that moment where like the air is just fucking dead.
Right.
And like then it slowly sets in and it's just heavy as fuck, and it just like brought me back to that dark time. Like, thank God, my mother has beat cancer, but that's good. An incredible scene, and it portrayed those heavy moments. Like we've all probably had them, right? And it would just like, it made me cry. And then him trying to prevent the funeral,
right?
Or the kids trying to prevent the funeral, or like he was trying to prevent the funeral, the burial happening, and the kids on the bus. When he's like, the eldest one's at Bo. He's like,
right. He's like, I don't want to lose you.
I don't want to lose you too. Like I got choked up on that shit.
Right.
Just because I was like, I remember telling my mother, I was like, just don't leave me. You know what I mean? I was like, we hugged, and she told me she had breast cancer, and I was like, just don't leave me, and she didn't. So. That's dope. So like that like sequence and shit, it was like I was familiar with those moments that are like heavy, and like Viggo's character, he's such a boss. He was like, okay, like I hear you. I'm gonna see this logic. I'm gonna let this one go,
right,
and keep it moving for the what's best for others, not what I think's best for
exactly
whatever. You know?
Man, that was so huge.
Yeah,
and so. Look, I'm not going to like go on, because I know it's annoying when people say this is what's wrong with the world. They try to summarize it with one fucking thing or whatever. I'm not going to try to summarize what's wrong with the world.
Okay.
But I think that there's a common thread between Captain Fantastic, the work that I'm trying to do with Rewild Maine, the fact that I got called out for being a racist, and basically the legitimate part of their critique was that cultural appropriation is a thing that has happened throughout history. Like white people have stolen from Native Americans and made a bunch of money by pretending to be Native Americans. And so like that is fucked up. And so if somebody thought that that's what I was doing, they would have every right to criticize me. So
that's not what you're doing. So
that's not what I'm doing.
So like,
but it's.
I just don't like to pay mind to like just like
Well,
things that aren't things. You're like getting caught on like this.
Well, here's
comment.
why. Because it's not that it's not a thing for me. So I was thinking about this, man. I don't want to bring too much to the table, but I was thinking about this story. There's a classic story which happens to be a Native American story, so maybe now it's like a cultural appropriation thing. But there's a lot of principles from the story that we don't have to go into the fucking details of the story. But there's a story about the peacemaker. It's the 5 tribes of the Iroquois Confederation, and it's not my story to tell, and I don't have to go into the stories of that, the principles of that fucking story. But there's one thing from the story that I really like, which is the story is about this peacemaker who made peace with these 5 warring tribes. And there's a bunch of shit that he had to do to make peace. He had to like befriend some crazy homeless kind of guy who was like...
Sounds like you're judging.
He had to go and befriend like the evil guy who had snakes in his hair, and there was like he had a whole fucking saga, right? But one of the things that I remember about the story of the peacemaker is that he had the power to divide the minds of the people who he's coming to people who are warring, and it could be us versus society. We're trying to make peace with society. We're trying to make peace with our neighbor. We're trying to make peace with the fact that we got to shop at Walmart and suck up the oil. This was like plaguing me for 20 years of my life, bro. I mean, we don't know each other that well. We don't know each other our whole fucking lives. But 20 years of my life, I was like, peak oil. I was like, we're going to die. We're global warming. We're going to die. I was just like all the fucking time. I was lost there, right?
Interesting.
Lost. And so that's what led me to live off the land when I went to the local living school, shit in a bucket. That's what led me to spend the past 8 years of my life doing these little drop in a bucket things, blade of grass things, teaching people about baskets. And basically, what I think... I don't want to say like what's wrong with the world. I'm trying to not put it that way.
You sound just troubled about certain things that are going on in the world, and it's like...
No, this is the thing about the peacemaker. Okay. The peacemaker basically... The peacemaker always divides the minds. So if he's going to try to make peace with these 5 warring tribes. And if...
Does he make peace with these tribes?
He makes peace in the end. But the reason he makes peace with them is because he divided their minds and they started debating with each other. If I go to you and your friend who are fighting and I try to make peace with you, I say, you should make peace with your buddy. And I have a shitty argument and both of you instantly reject it, you're not going to make peace. Similarly, if I go to you, I say you should make peace with your buddy, and I have an argument that's like instantly accepted, it could be like a flash in the pan. It could not stick.
Well, there's a tie into the movie where Vigo's son is really pissed off. He's like, you killed mom at one point. And then also he talks about when they're doing that holiday thing, he wants to advocate for Christmas. And Vigo's like, well, come make a
case.
Make a case. Let me know what the fuck's going on. Communicate your idea.
Right.
Maybe we'll go along with it. Which is, like, I love how the whole movie, like, these kids were great at acting. I believe these people were fucking family. And, like, Vigo's character felt hella real. And I just love the notion where the way just all his interactions with his kids were so honest, mild-mannered, and generally logical. I mean, he was kind of crazy at times with some of his choices, but they were just a team and a squad. Right. And it was cool to watch. I don't know. I saw so much good ideas in way he facilitated situations and raised kids. Like, if kids were raised like that more, right, it'd be a better place. Which, though,
in the beginning of the movie or the end of the movie?
Like, both. It's always tried that growth, right? Like, there should always be pivots and adjustments. Because, like, this Vigo's character was, I looked at him as almost a genius. If not a genius, like, very, very well read and very brilliant at the very least. He was so resourceful, and nobody perfect. Like, the little shoplifting with his kids, shit was, I mean, he had to make a move. And
Right.
like shit, like he did.
Right.
Word. Like, I don't know. We all make bad choices, and that was like the other thing is he made a couple bad choices, maybe a little rough living, but he realized in the end, and his kids ended up showing up and escaping from the grandparents, and they came out from the bottom of the bus, and that was a really endearing moment too. But it was like they wanted to live the life with them, with their father, because they realized the value in it, and they just wanted him to see what they saw, and like maybe he did make a mistake and to move past that, and it was just kind of cool because they kind of met in the middle to some degree. They got a house now and shit, a little farm, and it was just like cool. It's like, yeah, like you don't need to be a radicalist to like prove your point. You're potentially going to be sacrificing some things that could cost somebody's life just because you're, again, obsessed with this ideology. But I love his honesty and transparency with his kids, though, because, with her at the dinner table and the kids, or they're on the bus, he asked what sex was, and then he ended up getting a book about sex, and the kid's like 5.
Right.
Which is like not a great parent move, but it was just.
It could be.
I mean, yeah, like who's to say?
Honest.
Like, yeah, because then the kid was disinterested in it anyways, and he's like, good, like he proved his point, and he gave the kid the opportunity to see if it was something that he wanted to engage in or just like understand, and it wasn't the right time. So there was little gems in there that were cool to see, just because you don't get to see how shit plays out like that, and you're like, oh. I can see how that would make sense and how this would work out this way. You know what I mean? Like, the kids, like as the kids got older, like all the actors and actresses, these kids, they seem so strong. Not even just physically, but just they were socially awkward, right? Naturally, but they were so equipped in like every other way.
Right.
But you gotta have social in your life because then it's just, I think it's an aspect to incorporate and live the most wholesome way. You got a community.
So one of the themes that I saw was really just balance.
Yeah.
And the one thing, it's interesting, like talking about my call out or my cancellation or whatever it is, because a lot of people say.
Or back to this accusation.
Well, I don't want to go back to it, but I was trying
Sounds like you're trying to go back to it. Do you know this person that said this about you?
No.
It's just some stranger that like on the internet.
Well, there was hundreds of them. So
hundreds.
It wasn't just one. It was a couple.
That's still not that many in the scheme of things. They're just. I think they're off base. They're off base, so what does it matter?
Well, it matters.
Go live in the woods if you got a problem with it, right? Be about it, right? Be about it.
Right.
Put up or shut up, right?
Right.
You gonna spark that joint or what?
Sure. Yeah.
Fuck. Yo, are you sick?
No.
Everyone's fat.
What do you mean?
They're at the hospital, and the kids were like so confused. They were dumbfounded. They're like, "Is everyone sick?"
Oh, right.
Everyone's fat, and
right.
It was a hilarious observation because they don't get out. They've never seen so many fat people, and that's like something that you see when you go out. And I hate to say it, but love to say it. That I see.
You're not even allowed to say that anymore.
What, fat?
You can't say people are fat.
Oh, too fucking bad. I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Like I'll see people that are just, you see those big girls that wear clothes way too tight. You're like, I'll like in my head, I'll be like, honey, like that's not it. Don't do that. And
I don't know what the hell you're allowed to say anymore.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You gotta know your Bill of Rights. Shout out to like Vigo's kids.
Saj.
Yeah. Like she's a beast. She's a beast. I love how they touch on how much more sophisticated and educated and articulate his kids were to the society's kids, you could say. We're gonna say air quote society kids.
I know, the normal kids.
Yeah, the kids were dumb as fuck, want to play video games, there's nothing wrong with, but they're just fucking dumb.
Right.
And I love that little illumination of how I think it was a poke at public school systems, right? Like it's clearly dumb. Like we've all been there, literally.
Well, it was dumb, but not all the way dumb. I mean, I think that I don't know. I think that the first time I saw that movie, I saw, for example, the Steve Zahn character. as a piece of shit. I was like, this guy's boring. He's raising dumb kids. All they want to do is play video games. I think that I had like I just was on Team Vigo.
I was, though, as well.
Yeah, you saw it for the first time. I saw it for the second time.
You've only seen it twice?
That was only my second time the other day. I rewatched. I loved that movie the first time I saw it. I just loved it.
You haven't seen it in 8 years, though.
Yeah, but then I'm fresh. I saw it the other day. I saw it like on Tuesday.
I want to buy it for you.
I would.
Do you have a Blu-ray player?
I saw it for free. It's on for free online.
You don't want my gift? Like,
No,
you ungrateful motherfucker!
I'll take it.
You're what's the problem with the fucking world? I want everybody.
No,
to know
I'm just so
I try to give you a gift.
I'm just so resistant to things.
Oh, okay. Look at you and your fancy water bottle.
I know. I would love a gift. That's a very thoughtful gift. But look, when I saw it again the other day, I was much more critical of Vigo. I wouldn't say he's a bad father. I think he did a lot of things right, but I think he did a lot of things really reckless. And I think that even though Steve Zahn and whatever her name is, bless her heart, I don't know.
Catherine Hahn. But he did like the brother. I love how he called him out for the last time they spoke. Because he was the brother of Leslie, Vigo's wife, right? Zahn.
Was that what it was? I forgot
I thought he was the brother, or he was the brother-in-law. I think he was the brother of Leslie, Vigo's wife. And he's like, well, last time you saw my wife, you call her a fucking bitch. And candidly said it. And then he also exclaimed that the kids also remember it too. And all the kids are like, yeah, we remember. And they're like, yeah, they're just so real and authentic. I like appreciated that whole. They just were so real. Their main influence was a boss. And they just were straight savages.
Right.
And it was really intriguing, those interactions where you never have seen anything socially occur like that, where he's calling out the brother or brother-in-law or the fuck about calling his past wife a fucking bitch. And the kid's getting in on it and like dropping F-bombs and shit, like not giving a fuck. I was waiting for the father to reprimand the child or one of the kids for saying the word fuck.
Right.
That wasn't a thing. Like language is like say whatever the fuck you want, essentially, which was swagged out, I thought. But there are cons to this, right? The kid going to college and shit, like he proposes to the girl. Vigo fucked that up. Like, why was that kid so off base? Was he really that into that chick? But he proposed day one. He got lucky that the chick and the mother of the chick thought it was funny.
So I think that it was just a movie. It's only 2 hours, but I think that they
packed a lot in there.
They made him. I think that they could have made that character more. I think that it could have gone dark.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to get extra dark.
It could have been real dark, bro. Okay, so I forget the name of this book, but I believe the woman who wrote the book, I covered in ash here. It's not a good look. The name of the woman is Sunshine Person.
Okay.
That's her name, Sunshine Person. Her dad's name was Dick Person. This guy, Dick Person.
Interesting.
So, North of Normal. That's the name of the book. This book, North of Normal, written by a woman named Sunshine Person. Her father, Dick Person, just picture Vigo. That was her father, was Vigo. He moved his family from Connecticut or New York City or something. He moved his family up to, I think they lived on an Indian reservation. They lived in a teepee. Then they lived on like public land. They lived in he was like me. He was like a rewilder. He was like a off-grid fuck society. And her story was dark, bro. I read this book and it was like, yeah, it could have gone dark. She didn't get enough to eat. There were run-ins with the cops. She was cold and sick. Nobody took her to the hospital. There were other things too, which could have been avoided if you had good parents. But like her parents were like using drugs in front of her, having sex in the teepee. Well,
There's
she's
not a lot
like,
of room in there, though.
I know, but like she's 11 years old. Do you want to be in a teepee while your parents are having sex when you're 11? Or
maybe there's like
actually,
look away.
she was only 7 or something. But
like, what? It's like too cold for her to go outside the teepee, so like you need to just look away, or you just don't acknowledge it and you just are fucking in the teepee.
If you can do the real slow.
Oh, it has to be a certain position to be okay.
Slip it in, from behind. You're both on the side. Slip.
This seems hypocritical.
Slip and slow. The slow slip.
Slip and slow.
The slip and
You're
slow.
done. You're done. You're fucking done, bro.
Look, I would never. All I'm saying is, it could have gone dark, and I think it
started dark.
Hollywood. It started dark. She killed herself, and I think that. Yeah, look, I don't want to focus on dark things.
You sound like part of the problem.
No.
What's the problem?
Let me just make this point about the Peacemaker.
Can we not go back to the Peacemaker?
You don't like, I didn't finish that story.
I think you did. I thought he made the peace between the 5 tribes using good communication. Here.
Oh,
I thought.
He made the peace using good communication, but along the way he offended everybody. That's the point.
Okay. Hey, you're gonna offend some people, but he solved the problem. So who's to say?
Well, I think the point that I'm trying to make is that a good peacemaker will offend everybody.
So you're a peacemaker offending people. Fuck them.
Right.
Do you know why they made fun of Christians? Like outside of just there was a little excerpt monologue at the funeral at the church. He was kind of mocking religion. But it was just, did they just believe that Christianity was dumb? Was that kind of...
When did they specifically mock Christianity?
On the bus, the kids said...
Oh, they pretended to be Jesus freaks to get rid of the cop.
That was the follow-up. They're like, we don't make fun of anyone except Christians, one of the kids said. And then like Vigo got pulled over in the bus, and then they imitate Christians, which was funny. But I didn't know exactly.
That is kind of like a sly, it's some shade to Christians because the implication is that Christians are so annoying.
Like, just go.
The police officer is just going to be so offended. What if, by the way, I just am realizing this just now. That's kind of dumb that they use that Christian thing to throw the cop off.
I didn't.
Because what if the cop was a Jesus freak and he was like, yes.
It wasn't the best move.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes movies be trying to, like, make fun of shit and have a...
Right.
Something
there where they're trying to make a statement against religion. And so I think that there is, like, I don't know how political you are. Not very. Are you political? Are you a political dude?
I mean...
Did you vote on Tuesday?
I did.
The primary. Oh, you went to vote?
I did.
There you go. But
I don't want to talk about voting, though. I want to...
Well, we were talking about them shitting on Christianity in this movie. It's not about voting, but I think that there's an anti-religious aspect to the left in America. And there was a lot of references to leftist politics in that movie.
Definitely.
Noam Chomsky, his son said, I'm not a Trotskyite, I'm a Maoist.
Yeah, they threw around.
So he's moving from
fascist.
one communist leader to another. He's like, his son is into communism. He's like, don't be a Marxist. They like keep using leftist terms.
Yeah, no,
clearly the family is versed in leftist ideology, even if they're not all
100%.
components of it. They know what it is. They know what it is.
They were very educated. They were anti-capitalist. They were anti-right-leaning topics, which I didn't know if there was a message in there outside of just trying to maybe influence people, but then it goes back the other direction and like those ideologies get kind of quieted a little bit more towards the end of the film. You know, like some of those belief systems that they were really hanging on to, you could tell they made some adjustments and maybe weren't so obsessed with those ideologies.
Right. I mean, yeah, I thought at the end of the movie he lets go of his extremism and he holds on to the healthy part of his values. Yeah. He's still an environmentalist. He still is counterculture. He has a wood stove. He has a school bus in his backyard where he took the tires off the school bus. You know, at the very end.
Yeah, they made it into
the chicken coop,
which was dope.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Right?
You're like, I want one.
I wanted that life. I love that. But what I'm saying is I used to want the life in the beginning.
Yeah.
The really extremist life. And I think that I kind of agree with the message of Captain Fantastic, the movie, which is like that life, bro, is...
There's balance. You got to have balance and shit.
You got to have balance because, you know what? Oh, man. My bad.
Shit.
There's just, I know, I get a sense you don't want to talk about things that are too upsetting. But
no, I just I wanted, because we're going to talk about the Gaza shit, and I just wanted to talk about the movie shit. And I
something
didn't want
bright.
Yeah, like I don't want to get too down. I mean, I'll talk about whatever.
Don't get too down. Don't get too depressed.
Yeah, like no, it's fine. Like I'll talk about whatever, bro. This movie's really good, and I want to talk about this movie. Like it was a great recommendation, and I mean, you could tell it was a good movie because it's causing a lot of points of discussion. You know, it's going a lot of places, which is cool. I'm good for right now.
Oh, I thought you just asked for that.
I wanted my lighter back.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Yo, Vigo was full nude.
Oh, right.
I was like, what the fuck? Like,
right.
I didn't quite understand like the value in it. Like, it caught me off guard naturally, but then the reaction of the people walking by that they had to it, like they were also caught off guard. It was like, I guess a scene that had value of just, oh, you were like caught off guard, but I didn't understand why they really would. It didn't seem necessary.
I didn't see why he was naked.
Like there was he just was like, I'm naked, whatever, motherfucker. Yeah, that was his.
How about like put your dick away, bro? I'm gonna call the cops.
Yeah, it was definitely extra.
What the fuck is wrong with you? You know, I don't know. I saw it like I think that I am a very counterculture. I could go on about critiques of the culture. Whatever, it's good to have your dick. It's just a penis. That was his logic. It's just a penis. Everybody has one.
It was that
it's like yeah, everybody has a fucking dirty fucking asshole too, but you don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
His whole thing was.
I don't want to be like a fuddy duddy.
I don't know what that means.
It's like an old moral. I don't want to be. I'm like an old guy. I'm like, put your pants on. I want to be like a cool young guy who's like, take your dick out. Take your dick out. Hey, you want to take your dick out? It's just a penis. But at the same time, I feel like I'm like an old guy now. I'm like, put your dick away. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Wait, is this happening all the time? Like the wanking?
I used to be like, wank it.
Like in public.
No, I didn't wank it. But if I saw a homeless guy,
when you say do it, like, do you mean more or less like,
just like
do
Vigo,
you? Like,
do you?
Yeah.
I used to endorse that. I used to want to be
whatever.
If I saw a guy with his dick out,
but what I'm saying, my point is though, is like to put it in the movie. I don't think it was necessary. Like it just seemed extra. I was like,
that was his real dick too.
Was it? Like
I think that was
like
his dick.
He just was like out naked. Like I don't understand why that was put in the movie. Like I don't.
Do you want to hear my opinion about why I think it was put in the movie?
Yeah.
I think it was put in the movie as more character critique of his character. What's going on there? You got a little fucking Viggo Mortensen at breakfast
my shit
here.
Just went limp.
That's what his dick looked like.
My shit went limp
in the movie.
The mic stand just drooped down, which is funny. Everybody, to be clear, people that are not watching the video.
But I think that they were really trying to make his character not admirable.
Yeah, like it was when
he
his
was
character
not that cool, bro. He was not a perfect dad.
I think
that's maybe if we have a debate developing, we're not going to argue about Israel Gaza, but we might argue about this because I don't think that that's good to have your dick out
in public. Like there's
at that trailer park
with like your children and shit. Like yeah, I 100% disagree.
Picture like a campground in Maine. Picture like Hermit
because
Island.
It's the morning. I slept naked. I'm up like morning going out to the front step thing. That's what that was.
Pair of shorts.
No, 100%. Like he could have easily just avoided conflict or making people feel uncomfortable. You're in a public place, just like put some shorts on.
It was just helping to underscore the message about this character doesn't really give a fuck about the conventions of modern society.
Yeah, no, fair.
Which is cool from a young man's perspective, but as you get older, it's less cool.
It's just like,
I don't know, like smoking trees on camera is like something I've been making videos for a long time. I have a rap career. You and I have connected about, I didn't even talk about my rap music, but I used to be a rapper. And I used to make a lot of videos. And my videos on YouTube back in my rap, when I did that Jewel's beat, the Oh Yes, I would smoke weed on camera all the time. And here I am smoking weed on camera again. And I don't really have a problem with weed. In fact, I'm very supportive of weed. I think
this is nature shit.
Cannabis is good medicine.
Nature
but
shit,
one
bro.
thing, here's another thing. Like I used to make a lot of videos with my shirt off. Because I just like wake up out of bed and be like, I'm going to make a video. Just fucking blast it. And that, there's a lot of things where like, man, I don't want to take my dick out.
Do you, bro?
There's a lot there when he took out his dick. That's a meaningful scene. It's like Vigo's dick. What other movies have you seen his dick? Who else takes their dick out? What other male celebrities' dicks have you seen?
He just was like, apparently he was like that much of a boss. Like maybe it was his idea. He's like, I'm just gonna be butt ass naked this scene. Like fuck with me. You're just like big dick energy. He just was like fuck with me. Like I'm Vigo, bitch. Like,
he's like,
shout out to him, goddamn it.
Is it possible that my character could
like,
take his dick out?
He like that was part of the contract. He's like, I need to like big dick energy this shit. Like fucks with him. Nah, word.
Yeah,
shout out to Vigo, just like not giving a fuck. I'm pretty sure I would never want to go full nude on like a film or any. Like I don't. That's not something I would be particularly comfortable with. It's like
nobody said anything to me about the full Monty.
I didn't know that was happening. I was like, oh, fucks with it. Okay. Moving on. Shout out to Vigo for being a G though.
Shout out to Vigo's dick.
That's just funny.
No, that's a good movie though. I'm glad you liked that movie.
Yeah, that was a funky part, but like the jumping on the deer thing was either like
I think that's a stretch, but I think it's worth Googling persistence hunting because that's what they were alluding to. They were like referencing that. I don't think that it really would have gone down like that.
It's a movie.
Whatever. It's a movie.
It was a lot at first. I was like, what do we?
They want to start with a bang. They got to start with like an exciting scene,
They just start. It's just Vigo, the bus scene. They just
start with his dick.
They're just like it's Vigo. Shit. Like if it started like that, it'd be like a porn film. Like what the fuck? Like,
oh my god.
What is the movie's message?
Do you write that down?
I did. Like because of the left-leaning ideologies, maybe we kind of already covered it, but I like didn't know if you had an idea of a message they were trying to put out.
Well, I could try to wrap it up. I mean, which is just that extremism is
tone it back.
Tempting but dangerous. Understandable. Extremism is understandable. There are other movies. There are a couple other movies that I wanted to suggest to you. Can I mention one of them?
Yeah, by all means.
Have you ever seen this movie, The East?
No.
With, I don't want a dead name, but with Elliot Page, formerly known as Ellen Page. You know Ellen Page from Juno?
Yes.
Transition to Elliot. Now. Yeah, Elliot Page. But it was Ellen Page. And Alexander Skarsgård was in this movie. This thing is dead.
That shit going though.
But anyway, The East. No, but it needs to be fixed. So The East is another movie about extremists. You never heard of that shit? That's less of a real... It's not like a fabulous movie. It's like pretty good. But the message there is good, and it's about extremists. And I would say, what's the message of Captain Fantastic? The message is that it makes sense why people are extremists. There are extremists out there in this... The East is about these radical, almost like terrorist people. In Captain Fantastic, he's like left society to live off the land and shit in a bucket, just like I did, right? So extremism makes a lot of sense, and it's tempting and understandable, but it also can be really dangerous. It can be really isolating, like it was for me, like it was for the wife in the movie. It can be really dangerous. It can be fucking illegal, which that's like one of the really hard parts is like, yeah, so the message of the movie is you've got to temper your extremism and you've got to, like you said, do what you can to shine your light in the face of global crises and problems like what Noam Chomsky talks about, exploitation. There's bad shit in the world. So you got to do what you can to shine your light. And it makes sense that you're tempted by extremism. But don't get too down. Don't get too depressed because you might end up, God forbid, fucking killing yourself like my friend literally did.
That's terrible.
And that is, I'm like still very heartbroken about that. So balance. That's the message. Balance.
Yeah,
balance.
That's like kind of what I liked most about the film to some degree is it did have a strong message that it was also kind of had some mystique to it as well. Like I don't think it was
had some what? Some mystique?
Yeah, like it wasn't overly transparent as to what the film was accomplishing, but it was very emotional and real and unique and
totally believable and relatable. Like you could see how a family like that is out there.
Yeah, 100%.
One of the other things I was going to tell you, by the way, which is, man, I don't want to give too much of this person's stuff, but I'm not telling who this person is. I'm just telling a story. But this person, this person I know who took their own life also lived off the land, Captain Fantastic style. Now I can use that term. You know what that means.
So, like, that's actually a common thing that happens.
It's real. That's what I'm saying. It's like there are real people like that. And not only did this person live Captain Fantastic style off the land and eventually take their own life because they felt like they were a cog in a machine and they were only going to cause damage and they had to remove themselves from the game board completely, which is heartbreaking and not as good as shining your light, right? This person lived so Captain Fantastically that they lost a child due to they had the child at home, had the baby at home. There was a complication. They rushed to the hospital, but the hospital was like too far away, and the baby died in the car.
That's unfortunate.
If they were in a hospital,
yeah, it would have been fine.
Possibly the baby would have been fine.
So she probably potentially had guilt of that.
Who knows? It's not really my place to say.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We don't have to like get into it. You know
but the
I mean?
theory of just, I fantasized about, fuck a hospital. I'm going to go move to Alaska. I'm going to have my wife's
Does Alaska not have hospitals?
Just fucking squat on the bearskin rug, bitch. Just pop them out, right?
Wow.
That's what it used to be when I was like an idiot, you know? But the problem with that is like, you could have a dead baby really easily. Like, the hospital's not perfect. There are problems with hospital births too. And I have friends who are midwives and doulas and birth workers. People do like the hot tub birth. People do home births safely and successfully.
Hot tub birth?
People have babies in a hot tub. I'm not shitting on home births. I'm not saying there's any problem with home births, but I'm saying like hospitals are not all bad. And I'm coming from a place of thinking hospitals are all bad. Capitalism's all bad. Driving a car is all bad.
So you're coming out of the place that...
I'm coming out of a place of being very, very, very radical.
Captain Fantastic swag.
Captain Fantastic. And I'm coming to a place of being like, more like Captain Fantastic at the end of the movie, who's like, yo, if my kid needs to go to the hospital, I think that it's naive for young people to do what I did. Would you sit around your parents' house and say, I don't need a hospital. I don't need a dentist. I don't need a grocery. It's like, yeah, asshole, you know. Anyway, I could go on and on, but like,
yeah, no, you're good, bro. I get it. I like the counterculture element that we're like talking about. It was super unorthodox. But we've been saying like it kind of like embodies a lot of logic. You can empathize,
right?
And like that's what was really interesting to just kind of like get some insight on a radical thinking person that wants to be a survivalist in modern day and what that might look like and major issues that could arouse because of the choices you're making to be this survivalist type motherfucker. And it showed you what it would be like in different stages of your life too. Like when you're a parent, might lose a spouse or lose a child. But if you're a kid, there were some of the kids that were feeling like they wanted to break out and go do shit, like go to college and just experience other life. And so you got kind of like all these different characters. Having so many kids in the story helps you see different perspectives of each kid. They all kind of had their own take on things, which was dope. But yeah, it was just it showed a lot, and it was enlightening. And then to hear you talk about your stories, where it is a real thing, where people get in these situations. It's common for people to get really down on themselves, depressed, for being out there, and then what might maybe happen to them out there, and like how you have to deal with that. And sometimes being alone or not at a medical facility can be extra problematic and cause like more drastic results, like resulting in death, like Captain Fantastic's spouse and your friend. So that's
right.
I didn't know about this kind of shit, and like that's unfortunate, and I hope that doesn't happen anymore if it could.
Right.
You gotta shine that light.
Right. Yeah, and find the balance, and don't focus only on the things that are wrong with the world. And if you are focused on things that are wrong with the world, then you should be thinking about what you can do to make it better.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a fucking cliche message, by the way, but it's a good message.
It's real though.
It's a good popular message. It's good. It's not that popular. It should be more popular. It's a good message.
It had its own flavor. It was unique. Did you like how it ended?
I liked how the movie?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure how it was gonna end. There was a lot of points they could have stopped.
What did you think was gonna happen?
I don't know. It was really keeping me.
I thought it was absurd. He was like, I'm going to give my fucking... How many kids did he have? 8?
6.
Oh, right. 2 young, 2 medium, and then 2 old.
Yeah, essentially, like older. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Which like worked. It was cool. Like I said, you get to see the different perspectives.
Right, but like I thought it was very unbelievable that he would say, I'm going to leave my children with my father-in-law and leave and not have any children anymore.
Well, because some of them wanted to stay, so he was kind of beat down.
All right, you can leave. Like,
nah, it was like it was cool that the kids kind of like had his back at that point, because the way I perceived it, he was just in a tough spot, right. And like, what was he supposed to do? Like, he almost paralyzed his daughter the night before. Like, his wife just died. One of the kids wants to leave. The father-in-law.
I guess maybe the kids were just going to stay like temporarily, and he was going to go like soul searching, or it was forever. It was like bye. Your
like
new dad.
He's like probably the way I perceived it. Like he had to figure shit out. Like he was going to be in contact, but like they spent every waking moment together essentially. So to go from that to not that was like
they needed a break.
But it was cool. The kids showed out and they like roll out of the fucking bottom of the bus. Right. So I was like, word. That was a cool moment. Because they were just ride or die. Like
cool, because they saw a lot of value to that life, that way of life. I guess it was like the whole movie was all about giving. It was like showing that way of life, that counterculture way of life that is more Whole Foods and less TV. And so, like, the kids, by hiding in the bus at the end of the movie, it was showing to the audience, like, hey, the kids actually did like growing up that way. Even though it was hard, even though they broke their fucking wrist or whatever, and mom killed herself. Right. Like, hey, it was all worth it.
Like,
no,
that's fucked up. But yeah,
no.
No, like it worked out, I guess, but that's why it's like kind of funny, because like it's trying to like play off a like happy ending, but it was a lot of fucked up shit. I thought it was like a
medium ending. I thought, have you ever heard like a good compromise? In a good compromise, all parties are dissatisfied.
Word,
right?
Like there was so many points they could have ended it, and like when it finally ended, I was like, okay, like.
Right.
It wasn't like a happy ending, but it was like a happier ending. Like they just it started dark. And so like, and then they had other adversities and shit, but the big problem was within the first 30 minutes.
Right.
And it was like just trying to navigate that situation, and you could say on some poetic level, they came out better on the other side.
For sure.
They all grew and like are better people and are moving on.
It was resolved.
It was cool. I fuck with it. Yo, so you've been talking about some Gaza shit and right, like the fighting between Israel and Palestine. Is this correct? Like,
right.
That's what's happening over there.
This is a hard left. We're making a hard left.
Hard left?
Well, just because we're going, it has nothing to do with Captain Fantastic.
Well, like I was kind of like, do you have more shit you want?
No, it's just funny to make the hard left. I'm making it with you.
I already am like, I'm stopped at the hard. Like, I'm waiting.
We made it. No, it's just funny. But yes, one of the things when you hit me up the other day, you had noticed that I have been writing on the Rewild Maine page a lot about the war in Israel and Palestine.
And why is that? Like, because you've been feeling a type of way, and I just kept.
Well, I'm gonna go. Did I make the point about the Peacemaker, or am I gonna have to bring that shit up
already
again?
Did. We don't.
I think
no
I
more
made
Peacemaker.
the point.
No more Peacemaker.
Well, I'm gonna like try to. I might have to.
No more Peacemaker.
Can I refer to it?
No, you can't.
Can I just make you remember? Can I say like remember that?
Sure.
Okay.
Please don't tell Peacemaker's story again.
Well, no, I'm not going to tell the story again. I'm just going to say, remember how. Okay, so the thing about the war. First of all, I am Jewish, right? And I have friends and family and dead family in Israel. And I am coming from a place of the like leftist radical place. Okay. Coming from this Captain Fantastic Noam Chomsky place.
Okay.
And when I was in the Captain Fantastic Noam Chomsky, hating everything, hating the Hummer drivers, hating everything for 20 years, thinking peak oil, we're killing ourselves, climate change, we're going to die, hating everything. During that time, when I was like walking out of high school, we're around the same age. I was like walking out of high school to protest the war in Iraq, George Bush and shit, a long time ago. Throughout all that time, I was also hating Israel. Even though I am Jewish, I was hating Israel because Israel, I was like, basically, the narrative is Israel's like a colonial power. Israel is a Nazi. Israel got hurt by the Nazis, and now Israel has like become the new Nazis. And
what makes you say that?
That's like the narrative. That's
that
like,
you were believing at the time?
Yeah, like many people still believe that, but there's evidence to support that narrative. So like, first of all, about the Holocaust, so I don't need to go into that. But like after the Holocaust, then the Jews became the new Nazis. And the idea is that like they were so traumatized subconsciously from the Holocaust that they couldn't help but become like the new Nazi power. And so then they got a little bit of control. They're like, hey, the Nazis fucked us up. We're never going to get fucked up like that again. We're going to get our little scrap of land and we're going to rule it with an iron fist, just like the Nazis taught us. And so,
where's the verification of this information?
That's just like a narrative.
Where are you getting these narratives where you like align yourself with
the
them?
internet?
So like the internet is directly correlating your like belief system and outlook on the world?
Well, for everybody.
Yeah, no, to a degree, I would definitely.
I mean, even if you get it from the New York Times these days or whatever, it's on the internet.
No, I feel you. I mean, just word of mouth is the same difference.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in D.C., which is like a very leftist, democratic, blue place. D.C. is very left. And it's a government place. Like a lot of people work for the government. And so some people would be supportive of Israel because they're supportive of the government and because the U.S. government has like allies around the world and Israel is one of the U.S. allies around the world. So for that reason, you might be supportive of Israel because you're supportive of the U.S. by proxy. But also because D.C. is like a lefty place, really blue democratic place, oftentimes there's like an anti-colonial narrative, anti-oppressor narrative, could be like an anti-capitalist narrative. Lately, past like 8 years, it has become like an anti-America narrative. I mean, there's always been an anti-America narrative or America critique, but like all the shit over the past 8 years about like basically the idea behind the white people are racist thing and like America's racist and everybody's a piece of shit is all about oppressed and oppressors. And the history and the whole rewilding thing, excuse me, like the whole rewilding thing that I'm doing is like a whole big picture, man. I had this line in a rap song. I said, maybe I've gotten trapped in the big picture like that chick in The Witches.
The Witches?
Did you ever see The Witches?
I haven't seen The Witches.
Roald Dahl?
I haven't seen that.
Maybe I've gotten trapped in the big picture like that chick in The Witches, and I can't snap out of it. I go mad and I can't. Okay, whatever. But in this movie, this little girl gets put into a painting by a witch.
Oh, that's
so she is literally trapped
I fuck that.
in the big picture. But like, there's a lot of big picture shit here. When I'm talking about rewilding, we're talking about
because like we're talking about,
and we're still talking about Israel.
Okay, you're segueing, so I just want to like stay tighter.
I'm trying to.
All right.
Am I going too many directions?
Like, yeah, I think so. A little bit.
This is a personal failing. Yeah, it's
because like we know. I think where you stand with things. We don't need ideologies. I want to know, and I think you're trying to let people know what it is that you think is going on.
I'm trying to approach it real sneaky because these days people just have an opinion on everything. And so if people even just get a sniff that I'm like supportive of Israel's right to exist or like, God forbid, pro-Israel, that could be seen.
Don't let that prevent what you need to say. Like, you know what I mean? So like,
I'm just trying to speak like with.
What are you trying to like? I just want to know what it is that you're trying to let people know is going on and how it makes you feel, I guess, and like how maybe it should make other people feel and maybe it'd be something that they should care about or at least educate people what your understanding is that's going on over there.
Well, a lot of people are already talking about, like all over social media, people are posting about the war in Israel, but they would say the war in Gaza.
Okay, yeah.
And they would say that it's offensive for me to even say the war in Israel because the focus should be on Gaza, focus on the Palestinians. And so, like, you know, what I think people should care about is everybody. What I think people should care about is like world peace and rewilding. And when I was talking about like the big picture shit, I'm saying because like a lot of this stuff is about the past 500 or 1,000 years of human movement. It's like big picture shit. It's like hard to summarize, you know? And basically like what's happened over the past 500 or 1,000 or 10,000 years is like humans have moved around. I'm trying to make it as brief as possible, but like humans have moved around and like built nations and in the process like fucked each other over, you know? And so what we have now, what I think rewilding is about world peace. And for me, I used to think that the way to get to world peace and the way to do rewilding was to like re-tribalize and essentially shrink and fragment and do accelerationism and end society. So it's all these little groups, right? But I think that what is actually required is like a deeper understanding, is like a more universal collaboration. And so what the popular narrative is about the war in Gaza is that Israel is bad, they are killing the Palestinians, they're stealing their land. And what people should care about is they should care about the plight of the Palestinians and they should get rid of oppressors everywhere. They should always oppose colonial oppressors. And I heard some other thing, what the fuck was it? I remember. There was a chant, from Wabanaki to Palestine, occupation is a crime.
Meaning?
From Wabanaki, that's where we are.
I don't know what Wabanaki is. What is?
Ooh, pause. It's okay. Wabanaki is the native name. The Wabanaki peoples, of course, were the native peoples of this land. We didn't start this episode with a land acknowledgement. So we didn't acknowledge the land.
I don't give a fuck.
But the Wabanaki peoples were the 5 tribes of this part of the world. There was the Micmac, the Maliseet, the Passamaquoddy, the Penobscot, and the Abenaki. Okay. The 5 tribes make up the Wabanaki Confederacy. Okay. And they call this land Wabanakig.
This particular area, all of the United States?
Maine.
Okay.
And like Canada and Nova Scotia and like
northeastern
parts of New Hampshire, I think. Like down east. This is Wabanaki land, right? We're on Wabanaki land.
Noted. How does that...
So when they say from Wabanaki to Palestine, occupation is a crime.
Okay.
They're saying that oppressive colonial regimes should be resisted wherever you are.
White people.
Basically.
Colonial is white, essentially. Yeah.
I mean, not always, not historically. Like, from the Israeli perspective, the Muslim Arab world is a colonial empire.
Spanish?
Sure.
Or like Spain, rather?
The Spanish did some shit like back in the day. You know, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He was Spanish. But what's happening now, literally around the world, like... So look, what I want people to care about is a little more nuanced than just caring about Palestinians. I care very deeply about the Palestinians. You know, the latest
So
figures...
isn't there like a dispute over previous land that was lost in a battle between Palestine and Israel? And I forget, does Israel want their land back that they had previously lost?
So there's like
Palestine is trying...
It's hard to summarize. So basically there's 2 narratives, right? The Israeli narrative is basically that Jews have a history that ties them to that particular land in Israel. There are archaeological records where they find these stone tablets that have Hebrew writing on them from 3,000 years ago, and they found them right there in the land of Israel. And so somebody 3,000 years ago was speaking Hebrew in Israel. There are some people who still speak Hebrew today, and they have spoken Hebrew all along. So the Israeli narrative is, hey, somebody was speaking Hebrew there. We still speak the Hebrew. And if we're getting rid of colonial regimes and we're undoing the past 1,000 years of, as I said, people moved around and they built nations and they fucked each other over, and now we got to get rid of colonial oppression and all of that. The Israel thing is so confusing, bro, and I want to make it like simple, and I want to like keep it brief and all that for the sake of whatever. Brevity is the soul of wit. But like it's hard to summarize because there's so much history there. But this is the Israeli narrative. The Israeli narrative is 3,000 years ago, there were some Jews there. Then we had 3,000 years of history. And now if we're going to get rid of colonial regimes and all indigenous people are going to go back where they come from, like maybe the German people should leave Maine and Irish people should go back to Ireland, and we just leave this land to the Wabanaki because we fucking stole it. The white people stole it in the first place. So if that's the argument that we're following and all the indigenous people are going to go back and everybody's going to go back, we're going to put the toothpaste back in the tube, where should the Jews go? Other than the earliest record of anybody speaking Hebrew on the face of the earth is in Israel. It's from 3,000 years ago. So the Israeli perspective is the Jews were in Israel 3,000 years ago. Then they got ejected, most of them. There have always been some Jews living in Israel, but a bunch of them got ejected and sent to all the corners of the earth. 3,000 years ago, you know, the Jews around there. And so now the idea is that after the Holocaust, and I was just listening to this video. I listened to this video, because we probably won't have the time to get into like all the fucking shit. But there is a half an hour video that's the Israeli perspective that people could listen to, or maybe you could listen to later. And it's called Free Palestine, No Thanks. And it's the Israeli perspective. And I very much have always believed in a free Palestine. When I was like a young radical leftist kid hating Hummer drivers, I said free Palestine. I said there should be people talk about the two-state solution. So what it is now is people are fighting over the land.
Well, it's Gaza, correct? Like that's the shit they're fighting over, because they're like, because I was under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, like I don't know shit about this per se, but I thought there was a dispute over land in the past during some war that they had claimed, and now I don't know if Palestine is trying to reclaim shit from Israel.
Let me say this really briefly, which is just that it is, it's fine to like. It's good to want to care about this, and it's good to want to learn about it. But I think that a lot of people, like I've seen so many people in Maine want to post about this, want to have an opinion about this because they feel like they have to say something about this. And they might say something like stupid or wrong or something that could be harmful or
so what dumb. Is like what should people do in their day-to-day, like how can they like
the first thing is like most people should shut the fuck up, I think, like not think about it, like
that's what I feel like that's why I don't
do your
really...
Captain Fantastic thing and like just shine your light. But a lot of people want to, so the first thing is like it's okay to not speak about it because you're saying like you don't know too much about it. I would never fault you for that.
Because I think it's just best to stay out of it. It's like
some people might. Like, some people might shit on you and be like, you should know.
Listen. What I'm saying is like the Ukraine thing. Okay, like Ukraine and Russia. I don't know what the fuck's going on over there. And this is my stance on most things with politics, especially like foreign affairs. It's like I can't verify anything that's going on over there at the moment. So if you know people over there, it's a different story. Like I had some family... in Lebanon, I think is where it's like families. Some of my family members' spouse, I think they're from Lebanon, so there was some shit going on in Lebanon. I remember hearing directly like how volatile and like dark and terrible it was for that establishment. And when there's situations like this going on all over the world, it's like I think it's best in most cases just to like do your thing and stay out of it. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like we need to support Ukraine. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm also saying like. I don't know what's going on over there. What are we supporting here? And so when everybody like you just said like everybody's gonna shut up. I mean I was
respectfully.
Respectfully. Like I think that's like I said, I'm not a political guy per se, but we don't need to like be always trying to support these causes that we're so disconnected from and have really no idea what the fuck's going on. And I think that
is first of all is a fair perspective, and I guess I'm just coming with slightly more defensive because I'm always coming with fucking neurotic defensiveness or whatever because that's just part of my complex. But also like there are a lot of people who would say you have to have an opinion.
Right.
You have to have a take. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. And so I think it's actually very healthy to just reiterate what you just said, which is like it's okay to stay out of it. It's okay to say I'm not informed, and respectfully, I'm not gonna get informed. Like it's not my business. You know?
And honestly, I would like to like just keep. If it's okay, is it okay to keep it there? Is that like a fair way to leave it? Just to be like, it might be best because like
for the purposes of this podcast, it totally could.
Okay, if you have like another,
well, I could just reiterate. I already mentioned this video, which is a triggering title. So if anybody did want to hear the Israeli perspective, not that I'm a fucking Israeli, but the Israeli perspective, the best video that I've seen on this from like the other side. If you want to hear like the normal perspective is the pro-Palestinian perspective, which I'm pro-Palestinian as well. I care about Palestinians and Israelis. If people want to hear like the more Israeli perspective, like if they were wondering if we went on for 4 hours and I told all the Israeli shit, this guy does it in half an hour, and the video is called "Free Palestine, No Thanks."
So is that
so somebody could just Google that if they're like, "Oh,
but is it credible?"
It's amazing. That video
is it amazing or is it credible? Because I mean,
it's both.
Okay,
it's a very good
that's the
video.
biggest thing. It's like
I would even recommend it to you personally. Like when we get off, at a later date, tomorrow, whatever. If you want to learn more, this video is only half an hour. The dude is an Israeli, and he gives basically the Israeli perspective, educated and respectfully. And so that's the Israeli perspective. We could just leave that there. And I don't have to just represent the Israeli perspective.
Yeah.
But let me just say one more thing for anybody who may be listening. Not that anybody's going to like come from my audience, but they might. Because like I might post this show and like people might want to listen or whatever, end up listening this far. And for anybody who is listening, or for certainly just for you and me, my perspective is a mix of what you just said. It's okay to not care. It's okay to step back. And what I used to say, what the radical people are saying is you have to care. Where I'm at now is really a mix. And I'm not going to dredge it up for too long, but the point of the Peacemaker story that I thought was so beautiful is that if two sides are warring, the Israelis and the Palestinians, and we want to come in as a peacemaker, I'm going to try to wrap it up. I feel like we're coming to a closing point. But one thing that I wanted to say is like, if we can't find peace, a lot of people say, why can't the Israelis and Palestinians find peace? Why can't the Russians and Ukrainians find peace? Why can't all these warring factions, the Chinese and the Uyghurs, why can't these warring factions find peace? Then when we as Americans start talking about it, we get into an argument about it. And so many people have said to me over the past, since October 7th, past 5 months, they've said like, hey, Zach, I don't think we're going to see eye to eye on this. I don't think we're going to find peace. We're not going to agree on this Israel-Palestine shit. And what I want to say to those people is like, bro, if you and I can't agree in Maine, how are we going to expect the Israelis and the Palestinians? It's so much harder for them. The Russians and the Ukrainians, they're fighting for their lives. And we're like, I don't think we can agree on that. And so my closing statement is, yes, it's okay to not care.
It's not care.
It's not like, to not care.
It's like stay out of it.
Stay out of it and let.
If someone needs help, like, I mean, I'm not saying to ignore shit.
Not to
like,
not care.
Yeah, like, you definitely be empathetic and sympathetic, but it's just
mind
like,
your business. Respectfully.
Like, if my neighbors are fighting next door, I'm not going to run over and break up their fight. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
What if one is killing the other?
I might.
What if you hear your neighbor like, he's killing me?
Yeah, like, I guess if I got a direct call, like, you know, I'm gonna
please help me.
Yeah, like, I'll help him. You know what I mean? Like,
so,
but if no one's saying anything, like,
no.
And I know there's
people in this case, people are saying a lot. A lot of people are screaming, please help me, we're being killed.
It's just exhausting. I get so tired of everybody like trying to back a cause, and like you have ties to that area, like, which I get, and probably used to have family and stuff.
Well, but this is my main thing, and I really feel like I'm coming to like a powerful conclusion here. But the main thing is seeking understanding. If two sides are warring, if the Israelis and the Palestinians are warring, and we're coming in as a peacemaker, that requires us to see their point of view and to see their point of view. That requires the peacemaker has to find value in both sides. The peacemaker has to see if we want to make peace.
There's so many moving parts in all these situations. It's tricky. Like I definitely not saying I got the answer by any means.
And we're not going to go on. We can leave it here. But just think about this concept that the peacemaker will always be offensive.
Yeah.
Because,
no, I hear that.
Because if you're trying to walk the middle road, if you're trying to see both sides are going to be mad at you.
Theoretically, yeah, like it's just a complex topic with the foreign affairs and motherfuckers. Like we're talking whole countries, and there's a lot of moving parts. It's tricky.
And people just get triggered. So my thing, without getting into the moving parts, my thing would just be, let's just try to seek understanding from each other.
Yeah.
Hopefully, without getting too fucking triggered. And
right.
like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's life or death. Yeah, it's war.
Oh. Well, yeah, this, I appreciate you taking time to like chop shit up and unpack some of these topics. Like I said, I don't know a lot about that Gaza shit, but you wanted to at least like let people know, like maybe just keeping it trill, keeping it like just mind your own, I guess. And I'm not even just saying that you're saying to tell people to mind their own, but it's just
well, my message would be seek understanding from people who disagree with you. And if you're thinking about making peace between any sides, there's going to be discomfort because
there's truth in that motherfucker. You got truth. Truth sometimes can hurt, and it can be tricky, and there's probably truth on both sides. It's tough and it's unfortunate, but like America, we've been fighting each other before Civil War. Like it's happened over here. You know what I mean? Like sometimes motherfuckers fight. You gotta let motherfuckers figure it out, I guess. But I don't think there's any one thing. It's like, but this fucking movie though.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Amazing movie. Captain Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having me on to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's just dope.
Yeah.
So on the Movie Rant Break, we give ratings for the film, like a scale from 1 to 10 to the 10th place. So I make a rating, you make a rating. But I wanted to go over the reception that the film had from a couple sources. Like IMDb gave it a 7.8, Rotten Tomatoes gave it 83%, and Metacritic gave it a 72%. But yeah, what would you rate Captain Fantastic on a scale from 1 to 10?
10 is best.
10 is best, 1 is trash.
Well, I can't give it a 10. You can't ever rate anything a 10.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
I mean, if 10 is best, then 10, I can't even think of a perfect 10. Actually, I don't know. It's up there.
I respect it. If you gave this movie a 10, I would respect it.
I would say I'm going to give it 8 point. Can I do points like Dave Portnoy?
Yeah.
You know Dave Portnoy?
Yeah.
Pizza Boy?
Yeah, he's a savage.
I'm going to give it an 8.8.
Yeah, it's the 10th place. 8.8?
8.8. Because 9 is almost as good as 10. 8.8 is really good. I think there were a few flaws. The persistence hunting. There were a few other kind of, I don't know if it's believable.
So you said 8.8?
8.8. That's an 88% Rotten Tomatoes.
Thank you for that. I'm going to hit Captain Fantastic with a 9.4.
9.4. You liked it. Man, I'm glad you liked this movie. I think it's a great movie. I don't think it's perfect. I think that there are some things...
rewatch value,
whatever.
Rewatch value is lower, but like
right, rewatch value is always lower because you're critical. Then you're critical,
and you like know exactly. Like I hadn't seen.
You know
what's
coming.
Yeah. Like
the story is beautiful. It's a beautiful story, beautiful message. If you are being critical on the Movie Rant Break, moviepoopshoot.com.
That's not what I said.
No, I know, but that's from Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh,
but
sure.
You just gotta be critical. But yeah, no, 9.4 is solid. It's a 9 for sure. It's in the range of 9.
You said 8.8.
Yeah, 8.8.
Okay. Yeah.
Worth watching.
100%. Like,
yeah, worth a watch.
I almost like off rip was gonna. I'm like, this is 10. Like this shit had me crying twice. I was like,
I know. I didn't cry on your podcast, but I did cry watching the movie. The scene when all the kids are crying and he's like, your mother is dead. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, that's
brutal. It was brutal. Yeah, this movie's fucking dope. It's one of those films that I would watch it with other people to show them.
Right. It's one of those good movies where, like, if you're trying to explain some shit, if you're like, man, wouldn't it be great if we could, society is such a, you know what, just, you got to watch this movie. Have you ever seen Captain Fantastic? You know, it's like that type of movie where you could, like, show it to somebody and, like, explain, like, a philosophy. You're like, this is the philosophy, bro. It's in this movie. Like, that's what it is. That's, as you were telling me, we were thinking about other movies. Into the Wild was another one with Emile Hirsch.
I'm so glad we did not review Castaway.
Right. Castaway would have been, that's like
that was played out of me. That's
yeah. Castaway's great, but Castaway...
They didn't have shit on this.
It doesn't have, like, the social critique. Castaway's just about wilderness survival and, like, he gains strength in himself. Castaway's a great movie, too. But Captain Fantastic has the whole social...
It's deep
Thinking about society, the kids, the video game kids who are fucking brain dead but endearing. Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah,
sure.
It's in their own way. Yeah,
I kind of didn't like the kids. I was like, these kids are cunts.
I know, kind of like dicks. Fucking little dicks. Put your dick away. Yeah.
Wanking. So where can people reach out to contact you, learn more? Is Instagram the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, there's a Rewild Maine Instagram account, which has always been about rewilding, which is a big, long thing about what the fuck is rewilding. And so a lot of times I post about that. I also have been posting about the war in Israel because other people haven't. And I feel like one aspect of rewilding is about coming together across divides, working with people,
community, right?
Building community, and especially building community to heal the land. And so wouldn't it be great if Israelis and Palestinians could work together to heal the land instead of tearing each other to shreds? And wouldn't it be great if people like you and me could do that with each other and do that with Native people here in Maine?
In a perfect world.
So,
we're trying.
Right, only on a Tuesday. But also, if people want to find my music, which we didn't really talk about, but there is music that I make. I used to make a lot more and still have some shit that I'm kind of playing with. And you could just Google me, Zack Rouda.
Oh, word.
Or Rewild Maine on Instagram.
Swag. Swag. Really appreciate the recommendation of this film.
Yeah, thanks.
You have my trust moving forward with
The Devil and Daniel Johnston.
You said that was
That's
documentary.
a different conversation. If you ever wanted to get together and talk about music, we could have a completely, because we didn't get into music at all.
That's okay though. Because this movie deserved some talking about.
Right.
And it took us a lot of places, and hopefully everybody respects and appreciates we're high and we're trying to be helpful, shine our lights.
If you think
trying to shine our
possible
lights.
now, it's possible that I didn't make sense, and I knew that I have a habit of like starting sentences and not finishing them.
It's the Movie Rant Break, bro. We ranted on here. Like, people know what it is, and if not, like...
But it's also possible that I did.
Did rant?
I did make sense.
I think he made a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's possible.
It's the Movie Rant Break over here. I love everybody, especially the people, they still with us right now. I hope this episode was interesting. I thought Zach had something to offer, and he definitely was trying to talk some shit and just say what's up. So I appreciate 100% you being on the Movie Rant Break.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Same to you. Yeah. No, it was great. Thanks.
I was fun. I hope you fucked with it.
Yeah.
It's a good time over here at the Movie Rant Break. But that's the Captain Fantastic review with Zack Rouda. I love all y'all. Oh, and just recap scores. Your host hitting it with 9.4. Zach's hitting it with 8.8. Love everybody. You have a blessed day. I hope everything stay positive and healthy. Love y'all. Deuces.